We take an inclusive educational and community development approach to mental health and well-being in the community. So our work, our approach moves participants beyond the scope of traditional mental health spaces and moving beyond kind of illness identities towards being empowered community members with a focus on enhancing their strengths. We've been working since 2016 with organisations throughout Louth, Meath and North Dublin, with over about 50 organisations. So it's a very collaborative community approach that we take. It's non-formal educational courses that we run. We also provide training and community development initiatives. We run mental health and wellbeing festivals. So normally we bring people together to celebrate mental health, which is quite new because there's traditionally so much stigma around that area. And in particular, our work is around working with local people, community and services throughout the areas to really place the people that have lived experience of the stress at the centre and at the lead of designing and delivering our programmes. So yeah, that's what we do. The Mental Health Champions program, it came about because we had we were collaborating already with the AES in Balbriggan, and then there's just a wider need, a need recognised in the area and through adult education generally, that there's a bridge to be a gap to be bridged, I should say, in terms of people who have experience of mental health distress. That when they're looking to reintegrate and move forward with education, actually when they're getting back into education for the first time, that can be quite like a challenging space, and there's quite a lot of drop off. That's what the research shows. So it was Siobhan in Fingal AAS came to us with kind of to explore the possibility of running a program under the Healthy Ireland Fund program, and with a view to building the capacity of local community stakeholders to design and deliver recovery educational programming that would be non-formal in approach. So it'd be very accessible for people who are just getting back into education, but it also helps create a culture of acceptance and recovery in the community because it's open to everybody. Our courses aren't just open for people with mental health distress, it's recognising that everybody has mental health and we all need to look after it. So that's kind of the background to it and the ethos of the programme. But the actual strategy itself, well, it's aiming to, like I say, empower local communities to meet their own mental health and well-being needs. And basically by inviting anybody with an interest in mental health together, we're looking to ensure that there's an increase in acceptance locally and integrative educational pathways for people to make meaningful progress in life. So really, there's 4 phases in this strategy. The first phase, which was the Mental Health Champions phase, was really around awareness raising with ETB staff and also community stakeholders like representatives from local community groups throughout the Fingal area, and really to raise awareness around the strengths-based approach that we take to mental health and well-being in the community, because it is still quite new. And then we also use that time to actually really focus on AES staff's own well-being and community members too, because this happened during September, and we were in lockdown, so kind of the emphasis is also on the AES staff and community stakeholders focusing on their own well-being as well as supporting others. So that was the first phase, and that happened between September and November of 2020. Then that helped us basically develop a mailing list of people that would help us promote the next 3 phases, which was going to open it up to the wider community. And the next phase was phase 2, and that happened in January and February. It was called Recovery Learning Together. So the idea behind Recovery Learning Together is that we bring community stakeholders together. It was a mixture of people with professional experience and also lived experience, both of distress and being supporters. So whole range of perspectives there, people coming from very different marginalized backgrounds, as well as people that just have a general interest in mental health. So really mixed groups. It was fantastic. And they worked over 6 weekly sessions to help us design courses to meet the mental health needs of their local communities. So those programs are ready to go. Well, we're working on the session plans at the moment. So that was phase 2. We also deliver a program called Self-Love Program then. So basically just establishing our approach in the Fingal area during January and February, and a great uptake for that. And then finished that phase. The feedback was really, really strong. But now we're currently in phase 3, actually. We're now delivering beacon courses. So there's 3 courses we're delivering at the moment. One is called Thoughts, Feelings and Actions, how we can work with them constructively so we can make progress in life. The other one is Moving Beyond Stigma. And the third one is Creative Facilitation Skills. And the rationale for that third phase is that the people that took part in phase 2 will help us now to deliver recovery education courses in the future. So we're again building community capacity there to do that. And they're in process at the moment, and they'll run up until the end of April. So again, we've had a really strong uptake for the courses, moving into the final phase, which will happen in May and June. And that phase is called Creating a Culture of Recovery. The reason it's called that is because local community stakeholders have now, at this stage, designed and are going to help us deliver recovery education for their local communities. Yeah, that's the plans are for those courses are underway at present. So that's the overall strategy, and yeah, that's kind of like we're right in the middle of it. Well, I think that partnership has been like a huge kind of foundation stone for the programs that we're running currently. And kind of in particular, I think it was really clear from the outset when we were meeting with yourselves, like, you know, the meeting between the AES and the Recovery College, it was just from the outset, just there was a really strong shared value base, which really helped kick things off. Like I think both sides of the partnership really got what we wanted to achieve in terms of social inclusion and empowerment. That we were both really, really like, you know, very committed to taking person-centered approaches and recognizing the value of education as a pathway for integration. So, like, you know, straight just really started out on the right foot together. But what was really encouraging since, in terms of the partnership, was particularly during those awareness raising workshops with AES staff, it was just like, it was really clear that the team, the AES team, were really embracing the importance, and not only of supporting other people's mental health who are looking to engage with education, maybe for the first time in a number of years, but also the importance of prioritizing their own mental health. Which very much ties into the ethos of the work we do, that everybody in the community has mental health to look after. So that was really clear to us, both in the initial awareness raising workshops, but also since then, subsequently, we've had AES staff taking part in the courses, which is great, because what we're trying to do is move away from this idea of us and them when it comes to mental health, that we're all in together. So that's like kind of how it's starting off, like just really, really strongly together. The promotion went really well. It's worked really well, particularly with yourselves, community education officers, yourself and Seamus, in developing linkages that we didn't have before, and open up like connections with new community organisations throughout the Fingal area that otherwise wouldn't have heard what we've been up to, even though we're looking to take a community-based approach. Traditionally, for the first number of years, we've been operating since 2016. We were funded by the nursing department, so a lot of our focus is trying to draw people from the mental health services out into the community. But this was our first real attempt at really just focusing fully on a community-based approach. So having that strong network of community organizations, you know, just really helped push this on. And like, we did have to do a lot of work in terms of getting the message out there, because it's quite a new initiative.
Yeah.
Did the numbers that were expected, and it's still a very new approach in the community. So I think that's a good reflection in the partnership. And then as well, like that it's not only, I think it's important, is not only to develop linkages for ourselves in the Recovery College with a wider community network, but you're seeing on each courses there's people from different marginalized groups that are or kind of supporting agencies that are making connections with each other. It's a very, very integrated process. People with very different perspectives and coming from very different backgrounds working in ways together that really a year ago they may not have envisaged. So it's been fantastic from that aspect as well. And I think it's really worth noting as well that we've been collaborating. Like, this partnership has happened over a year that's been really challenging. We've been doing it in a pandemic. But I think we have succeeded so far in developing a really strong set of programs and a process that people are buying into. And it's still in its early stages, but it's definitely reflected in the course evaluations. Like, when we look back, before I was talking to you today, I look back at the course evaluations for the second phase of courses, and just like there's a question around the intended learning outcomes. There's 5 learning outcomes for each course we run, and 89 of there was 55 participants on those courses in the phase 2, but 89% of those respondents strongly agreed that the course helped them achieve their learning objectives, with the other 11% agreeing. So like 100% people agreeing that the course is effective, basically. So yeah, it's nice to reflect on that. I think, like, working through a pandemic for everybody, that's just really, really challenging. And when you're trying to set up a new partnership and a new approach, and then all of a sudden, like, it definitely affected the timeline and scheduling. We were going back and forth, just trying to find a way when actually can we start this process, because it was put back a few months because of the restrictions that were in place. The intention was to bring people together in a physical learning environment, and that's normally how we would work. But as a lot of organizations have had to do, we just put our heads down and put them together and figured it out. So particularly, I think the strategy was really solid in terms of the first phase. Helped us recruit AES staff and community stakeholders to help us promote it. So it wasn't just a few of us trying to promote this. There was a whole network of people that were putting the word out about it. So I think we met that challenge quite well. In terms of the other challenges around work doing this in the pandemic, is there's definitely the need for people to physically meet up. It's there, like you can see it particularly in the courses with ourselves, like that. In exploring programs that are promoting self-compassion and kind of how we can work with our thoughts, feelings and actions in a way that really works for us, it means people are really opening up. And on one hand, when we're in our own homes, we can do that kind of quite safely. That can work quite well. But on the other hand, the courses, if they've been finishing up in 6 weeks, and I was quite surprised. I didn't know, like, normally when a group finishes up with us, it can be quite emotional because people have connected so strongly. But it was emotional, and people really wanted to connect with each other, even if it was a case of meeting up over the summer when time allows, to just get out for like a walk and a talk. Because even though we're working remotely, and I think this is new for anybody involved with education, the connections are being built and bonds are being made. So I think that's definitely one of the challenges. And like, it might be moving on from here. I don't think we're going to lose online learning for what we do, but definitely have a blended approach with that. The time frame then was affected, but I already mentioned that. Like, programs run tight together, so that's a challenge in terms of developing the sessions. But we've got a really good team of facilitators, so so far everything's been working really well. So that's the challenges side. Well, I suppose building on, like, when I mentioned challenges, like the successes here at this course or this program, just to mention that as we're going to look at next steps, is I think based on the work that we've done, we can see that there's a real solid value, that like there's a buy-in from community groups in the area, and also the people that have been involved, that this approach is working for people even online at the moment. So I think when we're looking towards the next steps of the program, like at the moment, right now as we're speaking, we're still in delivery mode in phase 3 of the 4-phase program. So like I mentioned before, like we're about to start the creative facilitation skills training. So that's going to help us bring more people on board to help us deliver what we do. So we're working on that currently. And then also then in terms of immediate next steps, we're developing those, the session plans for phase 4. And they're the courses that were developed by community stakeholders in January and February. So those courses are entitled Developing Your Own Wellness Toolbox and Helping Myself and Others. So those 2 courses will be running between mid-May and June. So that'll be the end of the 4 phases after we deliver those programs. From there, we'll be submitting a full proof of concept report, and that's based on the evidence that we're collating at the moment, and we'll have testimonies to back that up. But basically, hoping that report can help us further embed the work then in the Fingal area, when supporting agencies and funders see the value of the work for themselves. And I suppose one natural development that I'm seeing happening in the courses, and I mentioned that the linkages that are happening between people from very different backgrounds and organizations that mightn't necessarily get to know each other as well as they're getting to know each other in the courses that we provide, is that also with respect to like kind of culturally appropriate mental health approaches, I think like a natural move forward for a program like this could be to work directly in with marginalized communities and their supporting agencies. So with a view to building their capacity to, whether it's people coming from ethnic minority communities or people that living with disability, lone parents, that actually different groupings could be supported to actually deliver these programs and design them themselves. So I see that could be a natural next step for this. But I think we have to be able to stand over the work that we've done so far before moving forward.